Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Gustavo Molina, and I am the Mental Health Literacy Specialist for Mental Health America of Greater Houston. Today, we're going to have a conversation on resilience. And so, if you have any questions throughout this conversation or this presentation, feel free to write them in the comments or to send them over to us. There's also the Q&A options. If you have any questions, let us know, or you can even request to go live with us if you like. So we're discussing resilience. Like I said, if you have any questions, let us know, or we'll also provide some time for questions and answers at the end of the presentation. So I wanted to begin with a definition of resilience because I believe that we sometimes um, hear the word resilience and may not know what it means, or we think it means one thing versus another. So, in a simple term, resilience means the capacity to recover quickly from difficulty and/or toughness. So this is saying that it's okay to fail. Sometimes we want to immediately recover from something, but we don't want to recognize that failure as part of life. So we sometimes hear, like, it's okay, you just have to get up and keep on going. Or you hear, you get knocked down 10 times, you get up 11. Whereas we can recognize with resilience that it's okay to fall down, and it's okay to stay down, and to recognize that we've fallen and that it hurts. And so that we also need to keep on moving afterwards. And so normalizing failure is helpful for us all. As we know, failure is one of the best ways that we learn, and some of the best ways that we understand the experiences that we went through. And we must have to sit in the uncomfortable, even though it may be ugly. We have to sit down and be okay with that uncomfortableness that comes with failing. So this looks different for every person, right? So for each person and for every situation, failure and resilience looks different in the same way of any other thing, right? So for some, this may mean that um, you bounce back up in 2 minutes. For other situations, this may mean that you're stuck in failure mode for a little bit before going back and being resilient. But we also have to recognize that we've all been resilient at one point, and that it's something that is a natural part of life. Also, think about it as a muscle, right? So if you work out or have any inclinations to working out or growing muscle, right, something that comes along is that we those that want to work out want to build muscle immediately, and that's not how it works, right? You do have to go to the gym consistently, eat right, and have healthy habits for the gym. So it's important that you consistently go, and it takes time. Similar to resilience, it takes time. It takes being disciplined in terms of making sure that you are consistently giving it a go, and being okay with failing a little bit in case you do fail. Also, like I said, it takes different time for each person. So maybe for some persons, you're more resilient than others, even if it's the same situation or similar situation. It could be something that takes less time for one person versus another. Hi, everyone. For those that have joined, we're starting a conversation on resilience. I gave a definition, so which is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulty or being tough. So I want to also note that we've probably been resilient at one point in our lives, right? So I'm pretty sure as a kid, we all have fallen down and we scraped our knee or something like that, and we got up. It hurt in the moment, but then we continued on. And so that's just one example of resilience. And now as adults, we have different ways that we fail, right? In the workplace, in school, and across other situations, but we've all been resilient at one point in our lives, and we continue to be resilient. We take the lessons learned from one situation and apply them to others, and sometimes it takes longer to um, it takes longer for us to bounce back. And if we haven't seen one of those conversations, or sorry, one of those situations that we go through if we do fail. So something that is related to resilience is a growth versus fixed mindset. So a fixed mindset means that you're kind of narrowly focused and fixed on the situation, that there's only one way to succeed or only one way to do things. And of course, this works for some situations, but for many situations, especially in the modern world, you have to have a growth mindset, which says that there are many different ways to accomplish something, and that failures are seen as a way to learn and grow, as well as ways that you can continue understanding how to get to the end solution, and that there is no necessarily not an end solution to something, right? That there's always an opportunity to continue learning and growing and improving and having bigger goals. So, how do you increase resilience? So, one, you have to find the positive, right, in every situation. Sometimes there is no positive, and so you have to kind of reframe your mindset to seeing how you can find a positive, or what was positive with the situation, whether that's that you grew from the situation, or that that you find other ways of finding them positive. You have to connect with others, right? So connecting with others allows us to have a support system, as well as learn from their mistakes, right? Sometimes we learn from observing or from hearing stories, and so those ways are also ways that we increase our resilience, because we learn from others' mistakes, and so we don't create those same mistakes that others have created, and now we also incorporate those methods into our own resilience. We also have to incorporate healthy routines, right? So making sure that we're taking care of our body as well as our mind. So any routines as simple as getting up from bed, brushing our teeth, things like this are healthy routines that we can continue to incorporate them that we into our daily routines that would help increase resilience. Again, if anyone would like to ask any questions in the comments, feel free to do so, or if you would like to request to go live with me, we would greatly appreciate it. So other ways that you can increase resilience is through creativity, right? So creativity means different things for different people. So creativity may mean doing visual art, where you draw, where you paint, or anything like that, as well as writing, right? So sometimes writing lets us to reflect what happened. There's an activity where you can write out a difficult situation that you had, and kind of understanding how you felt of the situation in the moment, how looking back you felt now, right, and comparing those ways that you felt, right. If you had to rate how you felt, or how big you thought your failure was from the scale from 1 to 10, so you can rate it where you felt in the moment, as well as rate it how you feel about that failure now, and kind of see where you are, and see what helped you get to that. Most likely you'll discover that you um, now feel less of a failure, or feel that you can conquer that situation. And through that reflection, you can see that there are different ways that you can incorporate into making sure that that you take appropriate actions to succeed in the future. Other ways that you can do this as well is through mindfulness, right? So the ability to kind of just focus and be and kind of taking things one step at a time, and kind of noticing your feelings and your thoughts without any judgment. And as humans, of course, we do pass judgment for everything that we do, but it's important to kind of have that, but as well as kind of noticing what we're feeling, acknowledging what we're feeling without necessarily having to react to it. So that is one thing that we can do to increase resilience. At this moment, I'll stop to see if there are any questions or comments that you may have, whether on Facebook, or for those of you joining on Instagram, if you have any other questions or concerns. Okay, so I do want to emphasize that we do have that we do have a screening tool that you can use for yourself as well as for your family. If you go to our website at mhahouston.org, you'll see that screening tool that allows you to screen for different aspects of mental health, such as depression, anxiety, and other mental health components. And this allows you to kind of see where you are, right? Kind of a self-assessment on different mental health aspects that we have. We do have a question, right? It says, could you speak about how to encourage resilience in children, especially during the time of COVID-19? So something you can do with children, again, is taking some of those projects or taking some of those steps to increase resilience for ourselves and implementing them with them. So for example, um, having a conversation about how they're feeling. And so kind of gauging where they're at, making sure that they're doing well, right? Encouraging that mental health is something that we can all talk about, and normalizing mental health, I would say, is one of the first steps. Second steps is normalizing failure. So oftentimes, for example, if let's say a small child was to drop, they were drinking soda, right? And they dropped something, and your reaction can dictate a lot of how they see failure and how they would bounce back from that situation, how they would think about themselves as a failure or not as a failure, or how they would think about it from moving on, right? So perhaps instead of screaming or yelling at your kid that they dropped something, right, because it is frustrating that we would have to clean it up, right, reacting in a calm manner, but seeing as well as how can we move on from this, and what can we do to improve this, right? So, we dropped this soda. What would you want? What would you need to do now to make sure that that this gets cleaned up, right? Or that's a very simple and very basic example, I know, but that's something that our reactions, or how we talk about those failures, or how we react to the failures that we see in our children, can be how it dictates how they see themselves. I would also say taking the failures from school, right? If anyone, if they bring any assignments or any stories from school, that they can kind of, again, trust you to have that conversation with them, but as well as asking them what they learned through the process, and what they would do in the next steps, or asking them, what did your classmates do to make sure that they succeeded, or what would you do in the future? And again, helping them reflect through question asking, depending on the grade level and their age range that they're in, making sure that it's understandable for them. Hopefully that answered the question. And those are, again, just a few ways that you can have conversations on resilience, with school children. I think that there's different activities, right? But again, it starts with normalizing failure and normalizing that it's okay to fail, but that we also have to keep moving forward, and making sure that we bounce back. I also think that sometimes some situations, we want to bounce back immediately, or we want to find a solution, but some situations do require a fixed mindset, which I talked about it before, which is, that there's, once you fail, that's it. Versus a growth mindset that says, once you fail, you learn from your mistake and you move on. Sometimes you do have to have a um, a fixed mindset and realize that some situations are better left at where they're at in that failure, and move on. So again, helping yourself and helping children to understand which situations would be better for them to understand that it's something that they should move from, or other situations where they can continue trying to succeed. I also think that choosing an appropriate challenge level, right? Sometimes we want to throw children and make sure that they're doing better and better and better, but sometimes we also have to meet the challenge of where they're at, in terms of their age, in terms of the maturity level, right? It doesn't make sense to provide them with college level calculus to someone that is in second grade. So similar to that, other challenges, not only academic, but in other terms, those are things that you can do with your children, making sure that you provide appropriate level, age level, maturity level, um, sources of challenge to your children. Thank you for the question. Other questions that I see, I did provide some ways that you could increase your resilience. Some of those I said through creativity, right? So figuring out ways that you think that you could express yourself, so that you can reflect upon your failure, right? Whether that's a writing or whether that's through visual art, as well as mindfulness, right? This is something that is gaining more interest for many people, but practicing mindfulness and practicing, meditating are ways that you can increase and kind of increase your resilience, but as well as it would help with your mental health. Other folks are asking where you can find more materials. So if you go to our website at mhahouston.org, you'll see a list of resources for both COVID and non-COVID related resources. For the COVID-19 resources, you'll see that those resources include not only resources related to mental health, but other local resources that may help you in these times where they're uncertain. I do want to mention that there are other resources as well across the Houston area that are free or low cost to individuals. Thank you for the question. Other questions, feel free to put them in the comments, or make sure that you request to go live with me either on Facebook or Instagram. We do have a few more events that are coming up. So next week we will kind of wrap up our month, and we will discuss how do you have conversations about mental health beyond May. So May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and so I know that a lot of different agencies, including ourselves, have various events where we discuss mental health, but we also have to be intentional about discussing mental health every month, not just in May, because mental health is something that we all have, and that is very important, not just in May, but every day and every month, right? So we have to make sure that we keep discussing it. So we'll have that conversation next week live as well on both Facebook and Instagram, where you can join us, ask any questions. We'll also be announcing the winners of our children art showcase. If anyone would like to know who the winners are, you can log into that live event, and those winners will be announced. And we'll also have other events um, throughout the year after this May. On Tuesday, we'll also have a conversation about high school student mental health and how to help high school age students with their mental health. So if you are a high school student yourself, or you have any children or other folks that you know that are in high school and would like to learn more about their how to improve their mental health as a high school student, feel free to join our Facebook and Instagram live. Um, Facebook and Instagram live events. Are there any other questions that you may have? I will wait a few more minutes that if you would like to put them in our comments, or if you would like to go live with us. Now, when we talk about um, the increasing resilience, we have to embrace change, right? This is always something that failures or kind of things that we deal with always change, so it's important to understand that our approaches may have to change as well. So that's something that we have to do. Negative thinking may become very prevalent to us, right, as we continue to fail. Sometimes what happens is we fall into a trap. So you fail at something, then you think, well, I can't do this, I can't do this other thing, but wait, there was this one time I couldn't do it. And so you fall into this snowball effect of negative thinking. So that's something that we have to try and avoid. And also, in that sense, also then do the opposite. So making sure that you are positively thinking about yourself. So where are other instances that you have succeeded, or how is this something that you can take from this failure to succeed in the future? Know yourself. So making sure that you take inventory about yourself, about what you can handle and not handle, and where you're at, right? So for example, something just a different type of example, right? Very basic example would be, let's say that I want to set a reading challenge for the year, and I set, but I'm not a good reader, but I still set a reading challenge of 100 books to read in a year. That may be a lot for me, right? So it's important to know ourselves and kind of um, what would be the best thing for us to do. So instead of setting 100, it may be better to start off at 10 books for the year and kind of increasing as you go along and seeing if you're succeeding throughout the year. Making sure that you set SMART goals. So you may have heard about SMART goals, and if you haven't, SMART stands for an acronym. So SMART is the S stands for specific, M is measurable, A is attainable or approachable, R is realistic, and T is for time bound. So making sure that you set a goal or a SMART goal that has different components, and so for example, a lot of folks will say, I want to lose weight. So you have to, again, if you want to make it more of a SMART goal, you have to go through these components. So being very specific. So how much weight, right? Do you want to lose 1 pound, 10 pounds, 30 pounds, or other ways? Also, how will you lose that weight, right? Will it be through diet? If so, detailing out what you will eat, what kind of diet you'll approach, what you would take, or will you talk to a nutritionist or your a doctor, right? So making sure that you set those goals, and as well as setting it a time bound. And you have to be realistic with that time bound measurement that you're using. So if I want to lose 10 pounds, I have to make sure that it's something that is realistic. So it wouldn't make sense to say, I want to lose 10 pounds by tomorrow, right? I don't know if there's many healthy ways that you can lose 10 pounds in one day. But so being more realistic, right? Knowing your body, knowing yourself, talking to others about what would make more sense. So maybe, giving myself a month would be something that would allow me to do that. Again, it does take a little bit of optimism and humor, right? Being okay with failing, and then taking care of yourself, right? When we're stressed, worried, anxious, the tendency to kind of neglect yourself, as well as, again, dwelling on those negative thoughts, kind of increases. So making sure that we are taking care of ourselves, that way we do not fall into a rabbit hole of negative thoughts, or into a rabbit hole of of that we're not able to achieve that. Okay. Any other questions that folks may have, whether on Facebook or Instagram, or if anyone would like to request to go live with me, I'm more than happy to have a conversation with you on resilience. I did mention an event on Tuesday for high school students. So that would be next Tuesday at 10 a.m., both on Facebook and Instagram Live, with one of our program coordinators, Karuna Antani. So she will have more details about that, and we will make sure to promote that. But again, it's next Tuesday, and at 10 a.m. on our social media live. Any other questions that I may have, that anyone may have? Again, we appreciate you joining our social media lives. We encourage you to take care of yourself, not only today and all, but as well as every day, especially in these troubling times and in these uncertain times. So make sure that you're taking care of yourself. We encourage you to take a mental health screening. So by going to our website at mhahouston.org, where you will see the direct screening link, where you can see various screening tools that are free and anonymous, so you can take those. It's a great way to start a conversation to see where you're at, but start a conversation with family members or with your doctor about a mental health concern that you may have, such as depression, anxiety, or PTSD. For the depression and anxiety screening tools, those are in Spanish. So for those that speak Spanish, making sure that you can take those in Spanish. So thank you very much for joining. And if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us on our social media or by visiting our website.